John, great to catch up. Thanks for taking the time out to have a chat to us. Gee, you've come a long way since Agent Orange in the middle of the 80s.
Yeah, that was about 1987, Greg, and actually Tony Hurley drove her, and I think she was trained by Mark Purton, I think, come out of the Purton barn, and she was one of the first winners we ever had, yeah.
Where did the passion for, we'll concentrate mainly on harness today, but I know it's across both codes, but where did it come from?
Well, Dad used to fix sulkies for Johnny Butcher and Peter Wolfenden, and well, Dad was an engineer and had welding plant and that, and he used to fix up a lot of their sulkies and that in those days. And he used to take me to that was when I was about 5 or 6, and he used to take me to the trots. That was when the grass track was at Alexandra Park, of course. And that's where I really got interested in the horses. And Dad was pretty passionate about horses, and we never had a lot of money, but what I mean is he used to take us to the races as much as he could, and that's where I sort of picked it up, yeah.
All right, we're sitting here now in Lincoln Farms, and we'll get to how you got to this property shortly, but in those early days, you were flat out trying to build a business, so therefore not a lot of money around to race horses, was there?
No, well, no, Dad had advised me when I left school at 15, and because we had 5 in the family and we were struggling a bit, so us kids had to go to work as soon as we could. So I was going to be an engineer, and I went for a couple of interviews and got failed. So we were friendly with a grocery shop, a guy in a grocery shop across the road, a 4 Square. And he said to Dad, look, there's a scholarship scheme going with foodstuffs, where young guys can go in and go through the system, and once they qualify, they are financed fully into their own businesses, you see. So Dad took me in for the interview, and a guy named Jack Evans was the secretary. Interviewed me. He said, John, I'll get you a job tomorrow if you want it. So anyway, the first job I had was in a little 4 Square in Mount Eden, and Graham Blackburn was my first boss.
Right, right.
So that was when we first started.
Yep.
So it sort of went on from there.
Yeah, and he became a lifelong friend, and we'll touch on his sad passing back in 2013. When did the Lincoln Road pack and save scenario, how did that all sort of unfold?
Well, we went through the system, and Lynn and I had a little 4 Square and St Heliers and West Tamaki Road. We had for about 6 years. Then I was offered a New World in Browns Bay. Yep. With another partner, and I went there with another partnership, which at the end didn't work. So Lynn and I bought him out and carried on, and then I was offered the pack and save in Lincoln Road, which was only about the 3rd or 4th pack and save in the country. And Graham had the one at Alderman Drive. So they offered me the store, and I said, well, I'm not going in against Graham with a store twice the size. I said, he's like a brother to me, and I said, I'm not going to do that unless we can form a partnership. Yep. Which we did, and he ran Alderman Drive and I ran Lincoln Road. Yeah. And that was up till I bought him out about 3 years before he passed away. Right. And we had that relationship right up till Graham passed away. And it was quite devastating to me because, as I know, we grew up together. He lived with my mum and dad for a while before he got married. He ended up having 5 children, a great family, and we were very close to them. Yes. And of course, when he passed away, I got, he just dropped dead from a heart attack, totally,
devastated you.
Devastated. So that's when I came home 6 months later and said to Lynn, look, I think we should, I was 69 then, I said, I think we should probably cash up and go and do something else. We also always had the Lincoln Farms be in this background. And I said, well, I can sort of concentrate on Lincoln Farms and run the property and stuff like that.
That was when it was at Kumu?
At Kumu. Yep. Now that property became zoned
residential.
Yep. And became very valuable. The Blackburn family owned half of it, so what we did, we cashed it up and they got half the money out of that. And then Laren said, well, we don't want to carry on with Lincoln Farms. So, and the whole family said, we don't want to carry on with the horses. And so I said, right, I will buy your share out, which we did. Yes. And that was all. Then it became, instead of just Lincoln Farms, we changed the name to Lincoln Farms Bloodstock. So that was in about 2013, I think that happened.
You had some wonderful times with Graham and none more so than Sir Lincoln.
Absolutely.
The horse that...
We bred him, and
Yeah.
thanks to Ray Green, he put the stallion the mare, sorry, he had,
Yep.
to the stallion.
To Mach 3.
Mach 3.
Yep.
And she was actually going to go to Falcon Sealster, but for some reason it didn't take, so we sent her to Mark 3. So
Yep.
that just shows you that things can happen in breeding, and as he turned out, he's a real champion.
Graham loved racing the horses as much as you do.
Oh, absolutely.
He had great passion, didn't he, for the game?
They did, and so did Aaron, and the family, most of the family did as well. So it was a good relationship, and we called it Lincoln Farms because the main provider was
Funder.
Lincoln Farms plus Lincoln Farms Pack and Save Supermarket on Lincoln Road. So that's where the name Lincoln came from.
Right. While we're on Sir Lincoln, let's talk about him. For some people, it'd be a horse of a lifetime, and you've had plenty of other good horses in both codes, but he was special. What one of those Group 1 wins stands out more than the others? The Sire Stakes on Cup Day was brilliant, the Jewels was brilliant, and the Auckland Cup meant so much to you
I think
guys.
the Auckland Cup was probably really the top race he won, but we got great enjoyment out of all of it. I think he won about 14 races. And then he had the problem with his foot, and we couldn't get him right. So, but he could have been a well over $1 million earner if he had stayed sound.
Yeah, he dominated that Auckland Cup field. His Sire Stakes run, though, I know talking to you a couple of times, Maurice McKendry said that day he would have beaten any horse.
He said he was, the Mark Purdon horse was in front, and he drew 14 and came round them and sat on the death. And going down the back, Morris said, I knew I had it one going the back. He said, this horse was bolting. And sure enough, he came around the corner, and I think he won by about 4 lengths to me. So Graham was there that day, of course, and it was a great thrill for all of us. And to win those sort of races, you can't buy that sort of stuff. Like what I mean, if the adrenaline just runs and the celebration afterwards and all that, and especially on Cup Day with 20,000 people there, it's a huge thrill. Absolutely huge thrill, and I'll never forget that day, and also the Auckland Cup, and also the Jewels, where we had some partnerships, and not in that horse, but another horse with BOAZ, and that's another one we won with partnership people in, which was good fun,
You don't mind a bit of adrenaline, though?
I don't know.
No, your America's Cup days of being on the start line.
Yeah, we had quite a big boat, and Bucklands Beach Yacht Club asked us if we could participate, and we were put on the start line, and we were called Starboard Escort, and we had to go up and down the course with the yachts.
Right.
And we had about 30 people on the boat those days, and
wouldn't be easy to get a ticket on that boat, I'm picking.
No, it wasn't. But anyway, it was great fun, and we won the Cup, of course, that year.
Yep.
And then we did the second one. Unfortunately, we lost the Cup, but great thrill to have. And when you had a few boating schools,
yep.
With the amount of boats out there, and we never hit anything or did any damage. So it was a good learning curve.
Yeah, you love those days, and you also paid a significant fee to have a round of golf with none other than T. Woods.
Yeah, I got home one early from work one day, and a guy rang, and he said, Bill Burney, his name was, and Bill said, I hear you could be interested in playing with Tiger Woods. And I said, well, it could be, yeah. So he said, okay, we've got a spot for you, John. I said, okay. So I said, what's it going to cost? He said, $75,000.
That's a fair green fee.
Yep. So I thought I'd made a donation. I don't know whether it's the Tiger Woods or who, but at the end of the day, I took 4 other guys down with me. We had a great time.
So, John, we find ourselves at the Lincoln Farms location at the back of Franklin Park now. How did you end up coming from Kumeu to here? What unfolded there?
Well, what happened was that we found out that the property was residential,
yep.
and we were offered $12 million for it, so we thought that was a pretty good deal. And the Blackburns wanted to get out of the property as well, so we cashed up and they got half that money. And then somebody rang us from out here and said, there's a property behind the trotting club that's for sale. So Ray and I came out and had a look at it and thought, yeah, we can do something with this. And anyway, bought the first lot for $3 million.
Yep.
And Another 10-acre block came up at the front. We paid $2 million for that. And so that gave us about 60 acres. And then I built a house up here, which was a couple of million, and then did the barns up, which was another couple of million. So
it was pretty run down, wasn't it?
Very run down, and it was really, really bad. You know, it was really bad. So it cost us $2 million to redo this property here.
Yep.
It should now house 60 animals.
Yep.
And then I bought that 10-acre block, which was a couple of million. So it cost us about $9 million all up to get where we are, and we got an offer of $18 million. So we.
You've done okay.
And then we leased it back for 7 years.
Right. When does that end, John?
That ends in 2027.
Right.
Now the developers, it's a Chinese company, which is a big developer in Auckland actually. They've done quite a few properties in Clevedon and Hobsonville, and so they're well established in Auckland. 3 of the directors from Auckland, 3 from Hong Kong also. So anyway, we took that offer and we leased it back till 2027 because I had 10 staff here. I wanted to keep these boys employed, and they're good young guys all coming through. So, and I wanted something to do. So I look after all the you know, mow all the paddocks, keep the place nice.
Yeah, which is a good out for you, and keeps you active, doesn't it?
Absolutely, you've got to be active. Like I'm 76 now, but I just couldn't sit around at home do nothing. I couldn't do that. So. We got some good equipment here, good Toro mowers. We keep the place like a golf club, so you know, it keeps me busy. Otherwise, I don't know what I'd do, really, honestly. I don't know.
You mentioned the staff, and much like when you were at Pack and Save, where you had, what, upward of 350
staff at Lincoln
You treat
Road.
them like family, though?
Absolutely. I had a little story about a girl I had there. She was one of my manageresses. She was an Indian lady. Couldn't get on she had a very bad problem and couldn't get onto the hospital system. So I said, go and see a specialist, and we fixed her up, and she's still bright and cheery today, and she would have died otherwise. So that's one that I've always remember. And I did that for 2 or 3 staff that never had any money, enough money to go and get private stuff. And well, I mean, we did it because they're good loyal employees, and they're still working at the store actually. So I think a lot of that.
Yeah. The philosophy that you and Lynn have taken through that comes into the way you operate. The partnership scheme that you have now, and I want to talk to you about that. You enjoy winning races, but you take as much pleasure about bringing new people into the game and them winning races.
Absolutely. You know, we've had 8 guys from Tira down in Hamilton who we work together, and it's Danny Boyle's son actually. Right. So, and he's just they're just so wrapped up in it, and I think it cost them $20 a week to put into the pool. They owned Northview Hustler, and another one or two they've had, Make Way, I think they were in that one as well. Would have made about $20,000-$30,000 in their pool, put into their pool. So they still put their $20 a week in each, but they want to go another horse now. We've got them lined up and waiting on.
But you tailor the partnerships to fit the people, don't you? Yeah. Plus you also guarantee they'll win a race. John, that's not a cheap exercise.
Well, what we do is say, right, you pay your, whatever you want, 10% share, say. We charge $2,300 plus GST a month for training. So if you've got a 10% share, it's $230,000.
Yep.
$230
a month. Yep.
And of course, most of them actually made money. They haven't lost money. They've made money. And I've said to them, if you want to get into this game, you've got to be pretty resilient because, you know, sometimes it isn't that good. And but I said, we guarantee every animal. If they don't get to the races, you're offered your money back, or you can go into another animal. They've got to win a race, and if they don't, that's the deal. And then we stick to that.
You're a great philanthropist, mate, because that wouldn't be a cheap exercise. Even getting them to the point where you can say they're going to be good enough to win a race, that would have costs a few dollars every time.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, that's what we do. And what I mean, the training fees underpin the cost of running the plant here.
Yes.
And we got some people from Napier, Rod Fleming and Sue Fleming, who were in King of Swing. Yep. And you know, he ran into me. I used to play bowls with Rod years ago, and we won a New Zealand championship, and so I hadn't seen him for years. Anyway, he ran into me at Alexandra Park one night, and he said, "Oh, John, I wouldn't mind getting into a horse, you see." Right. I said, okay. So King of Swing.
Got him into King of Swing.
Never owned a racehorse in their lives before. So anyway, you know, as you know, we won 350. We sold them for 350,000, and they probably come out with over $100,000.
Yeah.
You know, so, and they're still now they're in that filly Spice It Up. And when it won the other night, he rang and he said, "John, we just finished 2 bottles of champagne, and we've watched the race 7 times." So that's the sort of thrill people get out of it.
Just on horses like King of Swing, American Dealer, who you sold after about 3 starts, do those ones hurt a little bit because they go on with it, or do you still enjoy watching them win?
Well, you know, with King of Swing, the people had to put up $350,000. The horse already won 350 for us. You know, that pays the bills. And the people that bought him put up a lot of money, and I say good on them. And I still follow the animal, and he's probably the best horse in Australia now. I think he's won just over $2 million. He's a beautiful horse. He's a stallion, but you would never know he's a stallion. And I get a great thrill seeing people successful. But also with American Dealer, two boys from Florida bought him. And
Gordon Banks and Mark Hanover.
Yeah, that's right. I think they paid about $120,000 for him. And at the time, Ray said, he's okay, but, you know, I think that's good money. So I've got to take what Ray says.
So he's the one who makes the decision for you?
Ray makes the final decision.
Yep.
I won't sell any horse under him. If he feels it's a good horse, a top horse, we'll keep it.
Yep.
We sold Lineup for $200,000 to Emilio, and he went over and won 3 derbies for Emilio. Now, Emilio and I have been to dinner a few times. He's a bloody good guy.
You've been to war a couple of times at the sales.
He's been to war a couple of times at the sales, but Emilio, we get on really well, and he respects Ray's opinion, and he'll ask Ray's opinion at sales and things like that. They're good people. I enjoy their sort of company. He's a very successful businessman, and it's good to talk to people like that. Yeah.
Yep. You've had some good horses. We've talked about a couple of them. Badlands BUTE won a couple of derbies.
He won 3 derbies, Badlands BUTE, and I bought him virtually as I sent Graham in to buy him, and I said to Graham, because we knew Danny Boyle a bit in those days.
Yes,
Danny
he bred it, yep.
And I saw him walking outside. I thought, that's a lovely horse, a chestnut horse. Anyway, I said to Ray, what do you think? And he said, John, there's nothing wrong with him. I said, okay. I said, Graham, go on and get him. Don't go over 30,000, he said. And he goes, oh yeah, 30, 31. We've lost it. You know, we lost it. He comes out with a big beam smile. We got it.
We got it.
He went to over the 30 to get it. So, and he won over $300,000. That horse. Sent him to America. He was going to race for us at BADLANDS, and he'd been there a week. And the guy rang me one morning. He said, "John, I'm sorry, I've lost your horse." He said he died of colic last night.
Really?
We didn't have him insured or anything, so that was a big blow.
That's not the
only. He's a lovely horse.
Yeah, not the only disappointment, and I'm going to throw on your thoroughbred cap here because you had a really good galloper called Mickey Street. He won a Winter Cup, and he won a Zabeel Classic, and we never got to see him again. No. Do they hurt for a while?
Yeah, when you get the phone call in the morning, usually after track work, and Bruce Hurd rang and said, "Sorry, John, your horse broke his back leg in training this morning." So, what I mean is, he just won the Zabeel Classic. Yeah. And he was a top horse, and my brother Kevin and his wife were in that as well, and they were really, really upset when we lost him. So yeah, but you know, as I say, you've got to be resilient in this game, and you never know what's around the corner from day to day.
Tell me some more about Ray Green and what sort of horseman he is, and why do you have so much respect for him?
Well, I've known Ray for 30 years now, I suppose. Ray Norton, of course, was our main trainer at Coomew, and Ray Norton passed away a couple of weeks ago. And Ray Green worked for us out there, and when Ray decided to retire, Ray Norton decided to retire, it was the business was getting a bit big for him, you know.
Yep.
And so that's when I appointed Ray as the head trainer, and we've had a lot of success since then. Mm.
He has a wonderful eye for a horse, and he has a real passion, but it's not only him, his wife Debbie, she has a great eye for them too, and she's involved here.
Yeah, well, she works for us 25 hours a week here, and she grooms all the horses in the afternoon when they come in from the paddocks, and checks their legs and all that sort of thing, and she'll pick up little minor faults here and there and tell Ray. And
she can spot something nice and early, can't she?
She can, and she keeps all the records from the vets.
Right.
The vet girls come and they make reports, and she keeps all those.
Yeah.
And so she knows which horses are going to be a bit vulnerable and which aren't. And so she bought Copy that for $3,000 at a weanling sale.
Yeah.
You know, so what I mean is that's the sort of eye she has for a horse. She's very, very good at it. Very good at an eye for a horse. So, and if I go through the catalogue, so
how does it work? So yearling sales time, in the last 2 years you've bought a dozen and 10, and you've spent close to 900,000 both times. How does the preparation go for buying?
Well, Ray does all the work, and he does all the North Island studs, and then he'll do the South Island studs. And Debbie will sometimes go with him, and what I mean is he'll pick them out, and we go through, and I'll write down a lot of pedigrees I like.
Yep.
And then we come to the elimination, and we'll probably get down to probably 20 animals, 25 animals, and some will say buy. Just buy with big, you know what I mean? They're the brilliant
They're the ones you want. Yep.
So we do.
Yes.
And I've been outbid by June Feasts a few times, and with some nice horses. And we paid 200,000 for a couple last year at the sales, and the boys said to me, "Why do you go there?" I said, "Well, I've been outbid so many times. I'm sick of being outbid." So I said I stuck to my guns. Now they're nice horses. They've come rising 3-year-olds now. And look, the boys are saying that, you know, they go all right. So,
yes.
But, you know, then getting the $25,000 horse is just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about the business, because you never know.
No.
You never know. I gave a brood mare away to one of my golf one day to a lady I played golf with. Her name was Pinot Gris, and it was a thoroughbred. And she said, "Oh, I'd like it for a riding horse." I said, "I can take it." Anyway, I said, "If you can't look after it, you ring me back. You ring me. I'll come and pick it up." Anyway, she said, "Oh, the property's been sold, John. I can't keep the horse." I said, "Right, we'll pick it up." So I sent the boys down. Ray went down and picked it up. So I rang Mark Chittick, because he was down in O'Reilly in those days, of course. And I said, "Mark, I've got this horse, Pinot Gris, to go well with O'Reilly, you see." And he said, "Oh, John, we're full." I said, "Come on, Mark." I said, "You can do one more." He said, "Okay, send it down."
Yep.
So I went down. It turned out to be a horse called President Lincoln.
Yep.
And he won the Wellington Guineas.
Guineas, yep.
Right? We sold that horse to Hong Kong for 750,000, and he won $4.5 million over there. He's now retired back at Hamilton.
Could still be in a paddock being ridden by that lady.
Well, the horse would never have been born. And then we had another one called Abraham Lincoln, which was out of the same mare. She had 3 really good horses.
Yeah.
And, well, I mean, it's still at Waikato Stud, I believe. I think Mark Chittick still stands it.
Yeah. Your racing manager, Ian Middleton, he has a big part to play.
Yeah, I met Ian playing golf up in Canada, and Ian is a New Zealander, but he lived half his life in Canada, or 6 months was every year in Canada, and was involved in finance and stuff like that. Anyway, we were playing golf one day, and he said, what do you do as your hobbies? I said, "Oh, I've got a few horses." I said, "You know." "Oh," he said, "Oh, you've got horses." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I love horses." He said, "I love the game." So he said, "I'm coming back," and he said, "Can I help you run Lincoln Farms?" Yeah. And he said, "I'll do it for nothing," he said. "I love them so much, I'll do it for nothing." I said, "Okay, you come back." Anyway, he did for 12 months.
Yep.
Anyway, Danny Boyle had been running the place for me, and Danny decided to retire and go to Australia.
Yep.
So Ian picked up from Danny, and now I pay, obviously I pay Ian now because of the super job he does, and he's been with us for about 8 years now. And Ian knows a lot of people all over the world and all over New Zealand, and you know, great contacts with selling horses and also putting the partnerships together.
Yeah. You love hosting those owners at Alexandra Park, so much so you've got an office and it doubles as your hospitality area on race night. You really enjoy that, don't you?
Absolutely. We've made some great friends, people we've never met before, and that's great friends of ours now, but just because of the racing fraternity. And also in the thoroughbred industry, you know, you guys like Bill Gleason and Peter Didham and all those guys down there, we're good mates with them.
You race a lot of horses with Neville.
Neville McAllister, of course. And I told her the story this morning about him. Lisa rang me and said, "I've got a guy who wants you to come half share in this horse called Platinum Toulouse." And I said, "Well, what's it going to cost me?" And she said, "Oh, about 10,000, I think it was."
Yep.
And I said, "Okay, I'll go." And I had met Nev.
Yep.
And Neville is very astute on pedigrees and stuff like that. So I said, okay, I'll go on it. So anyway, about 6 months later, he got an offer from Hong Kong, I think it was, for $370,000. So I said, this guy's not too
Pretty
bad.
good sort of fella.
I better stick with him, which we have.
And you've been with him ever since?
Oh, yeah, we're racing together now, about 15 gallopers together.
Yeah. Lisa, you treat her like a daughter, Lisa Ladder?
Like a daughter to me. She's a lovely girl. And
how many thoroughbreds you got?
We've got about 25 at the moment.
Yep.
And most of them are with Neville, because
Yep.
I didn't buy any. I haven't bought any thoroughbreds for the last 2 years. And because I want to concentrate on the harness side of things because of the staff I've got here and that sort of thing. But when she worked for Smithy,
Malcolm Smith.
she worked for
Yes.
Malcolm, and I had horses with Malcolm because he was a very astute trainer, Malcolm.
Yep.
Good friends with him.
Yep.
And he passed away from a blood clot after he'd had an operation very suddenly.
Yep.
So we're all devastated. And anyway, I said to Lisa, do you want to carry on? And she said, I'd love to, she said. And she was a foreman at the stable.
Yes.
And Malcolm's wife agreed and said, that's fine. So we kept sending the horses, and that's how it developed. And
carried on
she's had
since
all
then.
our horses virtually. So.
Yep.
And
You've had some good
won
success
about
too, haven't
400
you?
races, I think.
Yeah, you got yourself a Karaka Million in the early stages of that.
Yeah, with Fort Lincoln.
Lincoln.
She bought him specifically for that race.
That race.
And paid about 100,000 for him.
Well, it's probably just as well he won it, because I think he only won about one other race, did he not?
He ran second in the Diamond Stakes after that. And we sent him down to the Sires Stakes, and he went terrible. And unfortunately, that's what happens with some 2-year-olds. You blow them out. And in the end, Robbie Hannon, Jonathan Riddell took him.
Yep.
And as a riding horse for his daughter.
Yep.
And we retired him, but he won all up about 700,000, 3 starts.
Platinum Witness, got a Group 1000 guineas,
Yeah.
went a great race in the 2000 guineas. Yeah.
She went to Broodmare Paddock, but
Yep.
I think she died actually.
Right.
Might have been. Oh, we've got Father Lenihan. He's out
Father
of her.
Lenihan, yeah.
He's out of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I think she's still at stud. Yeah.
Yeah. The future. You've already told us that you're here till 2027, and judging by what you've done at the yearling sales in the last couple of years, you're going to have a decent dig, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely, and I just can't wait till the next 2 or 3 months because of the horses we've got coming through. We'll have about 8 rising 3-year-olds that'll be going to the races.
Yep.
And
are they partnershiped up, most of those?
most of them are partnership
Yep.
up, yeah.
Yep.
Some of them, we've got Trevor Casey and a few of them, and some of the big names in them.
One of the great partnership stories for me was BOAZ BOAZ.
Yeah.
Because of my relationship with Brian Rabbit, who's
Brian
the
Rabbit.
racing manager at Addington, as you know. What it did, and it's a great example of what you're trying to achieve. He got very emotional on the day, and you know, to have a Group 1 winner, paid $40, that was probably half irrelevant, but he won it with so many of his mates that have become your mates.
That's right, and they're still in, all of them are still in horses with us, which is great.
The Dennis James and those type of blokes.
Yeah, those
that
guys,
are,
they understand racing, like, you know, you don't have to tell them anything about racing horses. They know the good with the bad. And what I mean is, before we take anybody into our partnership, we'll interview them at length and say, can you actually be in this and afford this?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, well, okay. I said, you understand that, you know, our rules? Yep. We have the final say whether the horse gets sold or not, blah, 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 yeah. Okay, as long as you understand all the rules.
Yep.
And then I said, if the horse can't win a race, you give your money back, or we put you in another animal. And that's happened about 3 times.
Yeah. John, you've, I think, surpassed 900 winners across both codes. Is the next goal to get to 1,000?
Yeah, I said to Lynn the other night it'd be nice to get to 1,000, and we've got the horsepower here to do it.
Well, this current season, I think you've won 60 races, so it's not too far into the future once you. That's in harness alone.
Yeah.
Let alone your
well, we
thoroughbreds.
probably do it maybe even this season or when
Season coming,
probably. But we have vested heavily in some very good stock. So, but as you know, with racing, you never know what's around the corner. We lost a filly this morning through tendons, and unfortunately. That's the way it is.
Can happen. Been really good to catch up and get more of an insight into what makes John Street tick. On behalf of the harness fraternity or racing in general, thanks for your generosity, because I don't think a lot of people realise what you were trying to do and what you have been able to do for so many people. Really appreciate your time.
Okay.
All the best.
Greg, thanks,
Cheers,
mate.
mate.
Cheers.